right, let's get comfortable. This is a very exciting video all around birth, revelations that we've personally had, Bub's birth, what we've come to the conclusion of, and what we have decided as a family is going to be best for us. Grab a drink because I don't know how long we'll be here for. I really just want to empower people to make their own choices, to know what to expect in the birthing system, to know your options and actively be curious about what your options actually can be. What's the most safest, what's the most in alignment with the vision that you actually have for your birth, and that you totally can have the birth of your dreams. First book that I recommend getting is the Bible. Second book that I recommend getting is Pain-Free Childbirth, Every Woman's Blessing in Jesus. It's by Nissa Andrews, and this has changed my life, this book. Initially, I bought this because I saw a girlfriend post it on Instagram, a picture of it, and I was like, do you remember what this book was? She sent it over, bought it on Amazon that day, and it has just been, it's been life-changing, life-saving. Everything that I've believed that birth can be was just extra solidified in this, plus also now being a Christian, the actual access that we have to a biblical birth and to one that isn't going to be messed with in terms of either the system or the new age just feels so freeing. So welcome to my YouTube channel. This is very new for me. Digital marketing has absolutely changed my life and has been the trajectory that my life has been taken on since before COVID even happened. It has fueled and powered the life that I now live, and which is why I've now fallen into the YouTube space, wanting to create more long form content for you guys and just share a lot more about the journey of what birth, family, finances, social media, how you can also start to monetize your social media, all those kinds of things actually can come to fruition. But I feel like YouTube is that next place for my personal brand to be able to branch out. And so this will be my first video. If you're not new here and you're from over on Instagram, then welcome. I feel really blessed to be able to share our perspective on some things. Y'all know that I am a bit more controversial when it comes to the medical system and all those things. So I'm going to share with you a bit more about the insides of my brain and what it's looked like getting to this point, and the decision that we now have made to get private midwifery care, have our own midwife, one that will be at our birth, and we've also chosen to birth at home. Obviously, Bub's not here yet. Things can change on the day. We don't know and we can't expect anything. I know that wherever I birth, God will be there. But for us, this is our plan, and I want you to know that you also have the opportunity to do so, and that it is a safe choice. It's not as controversial as what people will try to tell you or doctors will try to tell you. I think the best place for me to start is, one, that we're Christians. We've had a faith for the last year predominantly. Will and I got married this year in May. We met the previous year in August, and everything moved very fast from there. But I had only just been saved January of 2023. And then I also still did go back into my old life for a while because I wasn't surrounded by other people of faith. I also didn't really know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have friends and all that in that space. So it was hard for me to do that. I was also entertaining old relationships that just weren't good for me. And when I met my husband in August, he approached me and was very much I literally prayed to meet you. He had found me on social media the day prior, saw that God was doing stuff in my life. He loved the way that I was sharing about Jesus, also sharing about business, sales, all that stuff. And he was that's, God, if that's my wife, let me meet her. I went to church the next day at a time that I'd never been. He then obviously got convicted by the Holy Spirit to come and talk to me because he was what the heck is going on? I've never seen this woman here, and now she's here. I literally, I have to go and step out in faith. And then, life had changed very rapidly for me. There was a lot of big months prior to that. And so the Lord took us on a journey and had us creating a really beautiful friendship to begin with. physically removed me from the Gold Coast, took me away from my home, and had me go overseas for 50 days so that we physically had to be separated, and just to like figure things out, to spend more time with him, to deepen in our faith, deepen in our maturity in him only. And it was such a gift. And you know what's crazy is like I remember feeling like my husband was so close, like my daughter was so close. I felt like our baby like was here, and there was such a battle in that, because I was like, well, who is it, Lord? Like, if I have this desire that like it feels overwhelmingly close, what is that even going to look like for us? Like, that was so hard for me to kind of fathom. And then, yeah, like in a period of me getting back, that was October 22nd, 2023. I got back to the Gold Coast, and Will and I went on our first date pretty quickly within the next couple days. And yeah, we really like have been able to lay everything out from the very beginning, lay out our perceptions of like what we think that life can look like, building our businesses together, building passive income together, wanting to be really present with our family, knowing that that's not a cheaper route, also knowing that it's not the easier route, right? And so we've had to like have some really hard conversations, and like really growing conversations, ones that have changed the trajectory of our whole life, that have led us to where we are today. So yeah, we got engaged New Year's Eve. We got married in April, 14th of April. We had our wedding on the 11th of May, and then we fell pregnant with baby girl, I believe, on like the 29th of June or start of July. And a lot has happened in this year. We had had a lot of conversations prior to us falling pregnant, obviously, about like birth and family and everything that we were wanting for our kids. You would probably say that we're a lot more like the crunchy vibe. So pulled back a lot more from the medical system, pulled back a lot more from the schooling system, really wanting to like have, you know, a community of other Christians that are around us that can homeschool when it comes to that point. Gosh, like just wanting everything to be as close to the design that God had intended it from the beginning. Which really leads me to our first appointment with a doctor, my doctor that I've had for a long time. And we went in there, and pretty much he'd said, you may as well get a C-section. You can book that in. As soon as it gets to 40 weeks, make sure that you're booked in for an induction. And the most least important part of a child's life is its birth. So they're like the top three points that we got straight off the bat. Okay. And obviously my husband's like, what is this? First of all, I'm not booking my wife in for a C-section. She's low risk, you know, she's healthy, she's well, birth is natural. This is not an emergency. And so what we had to do was really like reflect on what we were wanting. We were already thinking more terms of home birth, but we, you know, wanted to look at our options. It's important for us to like understand what that's going to entail, what the cost of that is, what that looks like for us as a family. Are we going to have extra support here? Are we not? Like all of those extra things that we wanted to like, you know, take into account. Also knowing our options of what could be through birthing suites, and like we live in a beautiful city, so it's like we do have different options, but what was it going to take to be able to get us there? And we then had to like educate ourselves about that. So we went to our first doctor's appointment. That was like 9 weeks, I believe. We went and got an ultrasound, like made sure that Bob was all good. We got the nip test at 11 weeks. I think that was like around $400. My blood got sent away. Then we got to find out the gender. That was all that we wanted from that test. And honestly, like we battled that even with people, like just sharing that with people, that we were finding out the gender was like such a big thing. And like I feel like first time mums are just thrown all this stuff, like just fear, like opinion. You should make this decision. This is what this should be like. Like honestly, if you're a first time mum and you're watching this, you just got to block out that stuff. You've got to be like really firm in your decisions that you're making, and like firm in like your heart posture with the Lord. Like God will align you with exactly what you need and the people in your life that you need to talk to about these things. Don't feel like you have to tell everyone your plan. Go to people that you know and trust, and people that have the life that you want to live, not the life that you wouldn't want to live. Go to people who have gone through the situations and the circumstances that you personally want to go through, not the opposite way, because then they're just going to feed you the decisions and the things that they've had. Whereas what you want to do is educate yourself based on the things that have actually been evidence of what you want. Anyway, so we have this experience with the doctor, we get an ultrasound, everything's fine. We take off on honeymoon, we find out the gender, we're having a baby girl, and we were just like, all right, great. We're really not going to need many more scans, like everything's low risk. Let's just try and get into this birthing center. I had also just shared with a couple friends at church that we were thinking of doing a home birth, and they had shared with me that there's an option to do like a midwifery program and like to get into midwifery care. But you do have to apply for it. So your doctor has to send like paperwork to the midwifery care to be able to get into their private practice, which means that you get like your midwife on call. You work with someone consistently, like you work with the same midwife throughout the process, and you have her at your birth. I'm guessing you also have like her between your time frame of like going into labor as well, like pre and postnatal care. And then you have like a birthing suite. And so that sounded quite all right for us. Like we were like, all right, well, that's an option, because we were like, well, clean up at home. Like how about, when we do have bub and we just want to be relaxing and like we just don't want to have to worry about anything. Trying to find a midwife was also quite difficult. I'd posted in Gold Coast home birth community group. And I couldn't find anyone. And even like going through the page, there wasn't people that were like really standing out to me. And like I've said before, it was really important that we had a Christian midwife. And so there was like pieces that kind of weren't coming together. And so I was like, well, maybe I'm meant to birth in this suite. My doctor gets in our letter late, of course. He really didn't want us to go through that program. So it made me really quite frustrated that then I got to miss out on that opportunity. However, at this point, this was like 20 weeks, right? So I'm now 28. 20 weeks, I have to wait 2 weeks in order to even get a phone call back. So this is like me trying to like weigh this all up. He should have sent through the letter at 14 weeks. They didn't get it till 17. Then we had they had to send over something else. I think there was another couple week period where I was just in that waiting phase. Like, right, so this is me still not having support. This is me not having support the entire time. And so I'm like, all right, well, this is my baby. This is my first child. This is our first child as a family. We're trying to figure out all these things. I can't even ask someone questions that like doesn't have an opposing opinion, or like someone that's not a medical professional. Like, just help me, right? So anyway, we get news that we didn't get into the program at 22 weeks. And my husband and I had also shared with each other prior that if we didn't get into this program, that it was God's way of sharing with us that we were going to have a home birth. And we just felt it. We knew it. I had a dream that I actually gave birth out by the letterbox, and such a funny way. But like I was in the birthing pool out by the letterbox. I literally could like see the exact position that I was in. I pulled Bub out, hubby was behind me, and like I could like literally, it was just so pain-free, so relaxed. I pull her out, not pull her, but like I pull her up. Yeah, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is on this land. I remember waking up from that and being like, oh, like maybe we have to home birth. And this was in the period of obviously us waiting for the go ahead with if we were having the birthing suite. And I'd just become okay with the birthing suite. I had just become all right with that part of like the system, and, just everything that I feel like God needed me to come to terms with in order to let go of my expectations and have his expectations fully on us, have his blessing fully on us, rather than like, I just want a home birth and this is the only way that I want to do it, or I just want to have it in the suite and that's the only way I want to do it. I feel like he took me through this like walking out of my faith to then know that I have options and be okay with both. So I feel really blessed to have been our experience. But also a letterbox is very significant. And it was like he was delivering me a message. It was a period of time where I was like, all right, Lord, like I surrender this birth to you. And he then brings me this dream. And it was so comforting to know that once we got that call to say that we hadn't gotten into the midwifery program, that then we were ready, to go into the next phase. And as soon as we get that phone call, that's when everything else started falling into place. So I feel like, I'm past 20 weeks now. This is like half of my pregnancy that I've already had, not knowing what my care is going to look like, feeling like I'm kind of late to the party, a little bit confused on like what we're going to do. And everything, of course, just worked out there in our favor, which has been phenomenal. Both hubby and I really didn't feel comfortable with like just rocking up to the hospital on the day, birthing, and like not knowing the team, like not knowing anything. Like birth is such a sacred experience for a woman. Unlike what my doctor says, I also believe that like birth is one of the most important things for the baby, and like the way that bub enters the world actually is going to show a lot about what their life is going to look like. Like what my doctor said, I feel like birth is one of the most important parts of a child's life. If mum is stressed, if bubby's stressed, if there's extra complications, if there's things that just don't need to be going on, if there's intervention that is just unnecessary that then starts to cause issues, like all of this then leads to like poor postpartum, poor health on bub, poor health on mama, all these things that's like, it's just not needed. Anyway, so we find a beautiful midwife. Isn't it funny? Like I post at the beginning of my pregnancy, we don't find anyone. We come to this, we've got the last position in March that was available. Had a beautiful conversation with the owner of the organization, and the midwife that we have is also a Christian. Gosh, like we just feel so held by the grace of the Lord. Like none of this could have happened without him. We actually just had to surrender it all. There was nothing that we could have done in our own power to make this a reality, but we were just like, all right, like let's see, okay? And like, if I'm honest with you, like, I felt quite defeated at that point. I remember putting my post up in the group and just being like, I'm not going to hear from people for days, or potentially no one's even going to see my post. And I think by that point, when you're pregnant, you're just like, ugh, like, I just want help. I just want support. I just want someone in my corner. I just want to be able to talk to someone that gets it and is that on the same page as us, and that doesn't have biased opinions. Anyway, we have now found the most incredible midwife. We love her so much. We've only had one meeting with her, but between that time, like just texting, I can call her at any time. The continuity care that I know is going to be after bub as well is just like profound. We also have a support midwife that will rock up on the day once I go into like active labor. She'll be more to like support hubs. Deb will be more to support me. We'll just be, a team together. Then after that, we'll come back into the room. We'll obviously have time with bub, weigh her, clean up, all those kind of things. And the other midwife will be out with the pool, cleaning up that space. And it just means that at least we don't have to deal with any of that either. The last thing that we wanted, and that I personally wanted, was for Hubs to feel like he had to do any of that, so that we can just be a family and just be super present. So that's such a blessing. Like get us snacks and like just be cuddly and be here. All of this fully came to life at 24 weeks. So we've now had 4 weeks to sit in this and just be obsessed with our birth plan and everything that we just feel so supported in. Our next steps are like sharing with our families what we've chosen, and being able to really educate people as well on like what that looks like for us. We're not so much like blurting out that like this is what we're deciding to do. We're mainly like, if people ask us, then we'll share with them. But I also want to be able to, it's not even about us, it's more so like me sharing this right now is so that any of the mamas on the other side of the screen, or y'all that are like, pre-mamahood, wanting to know your best options, you actually have a choice, and to be able to support you to have that choice, and to have what it's going to take in order to actually bring that to reality, if that's something that you and your hubby are wanting. But it's also not cheap. So the medical system, when you do anything through like GCUH or any of your own personal birthing suites or hospitals in whatever city that you're at, that's all just covered by Medicare. Whereas if you have private midwifery care, what you do need to do is invest in a private midwife, obviously, right? And what we thought was that we could just have like one midwife. We didn't know. So it was like, we just wanted one midwife and we don't really need a doula. We just like want to be able to like birth on our own and be with the Lord and like just listen to the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit really guide the whole birthing process. And that's not the case. The actual legalities for midwives in Australia to do home birth practicing is that you do have to have two on board. Obviously, then if things do happen or if there are any complications that can happen, there's two people there. They've also got support. There's someone to clean up. There's someone to help the husband. There's someone to help the wife. There's time to be able to like work with people and for all of that pressure not just to be on like the one person. And then you also do have continuity care. Now, I don't know what the process is like in terms of like for women who don't have continuity care. I'm guessing that it's very much what I experienced in my first 20 weeks of pregnancy, where it's like you just go to your GP sometimes and you just, you see a midwife maybe throughout different teams. You could go to like birthing classes, all those kinds of things. But what I do know is that these ladies are like so set on being for the mama, being for the baby, like really being there for the family and having them know that they're supported. Like that's the only thing that we can ask for mums, for first-time dads, for babies to be able to have the support that they need, not just like sending a family home in the car, like, all right, go have fun. Your whole life has changed. Plus often like, C-section recoveries and just everything that goes into birth in the system. Anyway, video for another time. But bringing it to our families meant that we wanted to have some facts, right? We wanted to know that this is the best choice. And there's a Queensland government clinical guide, which I'll put into the notes, that just clearly states that it's way better to have a home birth. And if it's not better to have a home birth, then it's equal to being safe. Like vaginal birth in home birth, 95.2%. So that's 1 in 1.1. Hospital birth, 78.6%. Intact perineum, 47.2%. So 1 in 2 women for home birth. Whereas 1 in 4 women at hospital birth. Episiotomy, 1 in 39 for home birth, so 2.6%, whereas in hospital, 1 in 6 women, 17.3%. Like 1 in 6? Ugh. Severe perineal injury, so this is like 3rd and 4th degree, 0.9% home birth, 1 in 115. Hospital birth, 1 in 50. And then when it comes to like cesarean, they've gone away from just Australian data, they've gone international data, which I think would be really interesting because in Australia last year or the year before, 2022, 39% of women giving birth had C-sections. And a lot of that would have been planned. Like a lot of that is just non-education. Like that's a really high percentage considering babies are meant to come out of your, considering that we are literally made to birth. So internationally, cesarean birth, 1 in 47 for home birth, 1 in 10 for in the hospital. It says 9.7%, but I think that also includes like the entire world. Anyway, we just feel like so grateful to have the support that we actually need as a family. And to be able to like empower you guys to make decisions based on what's best for you and to know your choices, to know your options. I know a lot of beautiful people that have had phenomenal hospital births. This is also normal. I know a lot of beautiful people that have had phenomenal hospital births. My mum had very fast labours in hospital and had a great experience. Same with my auntie, same with Will's mum. A lot of my friends have also had positive hospital experiences, but I also know a lot of people that haven't. And I don't think that there's been one time that I've been having conversations about people that have had home births that have gone, oh, no, that was horrible. Like, I'll never do that again. Like, as a woman, you really don't have to subscribe to any of the lies that like labor's hard, that birth is painful, that home birth is the most unsafe decision that you could ever make. Like, one of the greatest lies of the enemy is that we should fear all of this. And Jesus doesn't say that we should fear. He says that we should have peace in him. Like, we're not meant to fear the things that are natural to us, especially as women, especially as maternal beings. But I pray that this video has been able to potentially support you on your own journey. If you have more questions, please pop them in the comments below so I can even do like a part 2 or a Q&A depending on like what y'all are needing. I still have just under 12 weeks of my pregnancy now, so this channel will be opening up to so much more content about all of this. We'll have more consistent midwife experiences, so I really want to like document and share a lot of that. And personally, I found it really difficult to find any Christian home birth experiences that have been recorded. And I feel like potentially that's like a modesty thing, or that women are like not wanting to share that sacred process, which I completely understand. But I also feel like recording that and being able to have you guys as part of the experience, because I know that it has helped me so much watching birth testimonies and the actual labor process to just be so clear with what we want, to help hubby like see what the experience looks like and like what he's personally wanting, and for things to not look so daunting, because it's like, like there's blood and there's mess and there's noise and all of this stuff. And so to be prepared to that extent of like experiencing someone else's journey can also help our husbands make great choices. Because at the end of the day, like if hubby wasn't wanting this and this wasn't something that he was interested in, then we probably wouldn't be doing it. I respect his decisions as well, and then on the other hand, he respects mine. And so it's beautiful to have this relationship where we get to blend it all together, where he just wants me to feel safe and I just want him to feel safe, and we've been able to meet in that same safety, knowing that like we were created in God's image, like we are perfect in him. And if we lean and rest in him, like there's going to be no fear. There's no fear in that. And we literally don't have to come into agreement with anything other than, and of course I've just opened up the book on this page, so I'm just going to read a piece of it. Pain-free childbirth, every woman's blessing in Jesus. Page 98. If you want to break the fear, tension, pain cycle, you must take your thoughts captive and pull down the stronghold of fear. You haven't received a spirit of fear, but of perfect love, which casts out fear, right? Science has discovered that oxytocin, the love hormone, helps decrease feelings of fear in an individual. Science is the discovery of how God does things. Our body's response to love is a decrease in fear. However, the only way to ultimately cast out fear from your life and your birth experience is through perfect love, which only comes through the Father. Amen. Fear increases pain in birth, but the love of the Father casts fear out. Breathing methods, knowledge, and affirmations don't cast it out. They may decrease the pain symptoms and help you feel less fearful, but only God can eliminate fear. This is why it's so important to me that we only have the Holy Spirit in the room, no other spirits, and that none of the new age stuff comes in, because that's the world that I was in. I'm definitely not having that when I'm bringing our child into the world. God is the source of love and everything good. If you want to experience the fullness of a pain-free birth, number 1, yield to him. Jesus is the only one who has loosed us from pain. Number 2, immerse and abide in the Father's love. Number 3, let perfect love cascade over you through every contraction. So like fully surrendering to each contraction. I can't wait to share our testimony with you guys. And I'm also open to it not being what I think it's going to be. Like, if God has that plan, I'm not there yet. It's good to know how the body works in the natural, yes. But if you want a supernatural birth, you must surrender to the spirit first and then to the body. Most people do it the other way around. So like surrendering to the body, going through hypnobirthing, breathing techniques, all that kind of stuff, affirmations, but mainly about the body, or even leaving the body and then having these births that they have really enjoyed, but they're not partnering with the Holy Spirit. Surrendering to your contractions and the labor process are very helpful. However, the natural realm has limitations, right? If you are focusing only on what you're doing naturally, you will get limited results. Start first in the spirit. I always started my labors declaring right away, I am a daughter of the Most High and I walk by the Spirit and according to his leadings. I will willfully submit this labor to you and receive the fullness of all that you have for me, God. My body is responding to your word, will, and ways. I present my body as a living sacrifice, which is my reasonable service. I will not fear, for you are with me. Pain has no power over me because Jesus has loosed it off my life. And then speak to your body and surrender your body to the Spirit by speaking life. Mind, you will stay in perfect peace the whole time because your thoughts are fixed on Abba and you trust in Him. He is faithful, He is good. Body, you will relax through every contraction. You will birth this baby with ease, confidence, and pain free. You will dilate quickly without complications. With you, all things are possible. If you are uneasy, fearful, or anxious about anything, this is a great indicator that you aren't coming from a place of rest, but toil. If you find yourself in this state, come to Jesus, who is the giver of rest. Nissa, this book has blessed me, and I know that it's blessing so many women all over the globe. I'll also put her Amazon link down below. But this book will help you break free from the system and all the lies that we've just been fed from day one. And we don't have to come into agreement with it. We get to educate our men and make sure that they're understanding how birth really does get to be for us, because a lot of them are just fearful as well and they just know what they know. So hopefully I'll be able to talk hubby into getting onto one of these videos in the next 12 weeks and just really sharing our experience together. It's just getting him over the hurdle of sitting here and actually talking to the camera without feeling awkward. Please, if you haven't already, connect with me on Instagram. That is my main platform at the minute. I do pray that YouTube does take off in a way that I can't even imagine. All glory to God, and that we get to expand out this community together. I love you. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next video.